quadratic equation?
X equals the opposite of b, plus or minus square root of b minus 4 times a times c over 2a.
Good. Some people filled in some things that we were missing. B squared minus 4ac. Okay? Now, all right? Now, I just need you to understand a couple things here. Okay? First of all, if I have a number underneath that square root, forget everything else right now. Mentally cover this up. Mentally cover this up, and we're only dealing with the square root. If I have a square root, what is the square root of 0? It is 0. The square root of 0 is 0. What two numbers that are exactly alike multiplied together will give me 0? 0. Makes sense. What happens if the number underneath this is negative? We're going to get I as an answer, right? We're going to get an answer with I in it. Would you agree? What happens if the number underneath a square root is positive? Good. We're going to get two answers. We're going to get plus or minus the square root of x, aren't we? This is going to be plus or minus the square root of xi. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
So, if I get the square root of 0, okay, that answer is 0. If I get the square root of a negative or the square root of a positive number, it gives me two answers. Would you agree? Okay. That being said, let's take a look at this equation. Okay. Today we have what's called the discriminant. It's I, isn't it? Is that correct? Yeah, that's correct. Okay, discriminant. The discriminant is the number underneath the square root. That's what the discriminant is. So I want you to tell me the number right now of that formula that's under the square root. What is that number? It's real easy. Very good. It's b squared minus 4 times a times c. That's a real number. It's a number. B squared minus 4ac is the discriminant. Men. Okay? Because I get tired of repeating lessons. Okay? Because we're not paying attention now. Okay? So b squared minus 4ac. That is the discriminant. Now, when the problem says use the discriminant to answer the following problem, it wants one of three answers. It wants one of three answers. It wants one real solution. Or it wants two real solutions. Or it wants two imaginary solutions. Now that's what's weird about this. That's what's weird about this. Is all we're doing is predicting the answers by using what's called a discriminant. Now the discriminant is very important. It's going to be used later on in mathematics, upper level mathematics, in arrays. Okay? But right now we're just going through the basics of what the discriminant is. The discriminant is one of these three answers. So you're going to come up with a number, but that number means nothing except for it translates into these three things. Now, I want to tie it into what I said before. Okay? Which one of these is two imaginary solutions?
The middle one.
Which one of these is two imaginary solutions?
X, I, and X. The bottom two?
No, the middle one. It's the middle one.
Look at it again. That's what I wanted to hear. Two imaginary solutions is the answer for the square root of a negative number. If you get a negative number in b squared minus 4ac, which is found underneath the square root, The answer to the problem is 2 imaginary solutions. Okay? Now, which one gives me 2 real solutions?
Square root of x.
Square root of a real number. If I take the square root of a real number, I'm going to get 2 answers. I'm going to get one answer plus that and one answer minus that. Would you agree? So this is the square root of a positive number. So if this is a positive number, my answer is 2 real solutions. So what is one real solution? When it's the square root of 0. Now that's the one that kind of throws people, but it makes more sense because look, if this is 0, then my answer is b over 2a. One answer. b over 2a plus or minus 0. There's only one answer. So the discriminant tells us certain things about a problem. It tells us if we have 1 or 2 answers. If we have 2 answers, are they real or imaginary? That's all they want. So, let's apply the lesson. 2x squared plus x minus 3 equals 0 is called a quadratic equation because it has a variable to the power of 2. I want to know what the discriminant tells you. What does the discriminant tell us here? Well, the only thing that's important is what formula? b squared minus 4ac. So let's do that. What's my b number?
1.
Square it.
1.
Minus 4, what's my a number?
2.
What's my c number?
3.
Listen carefully. Is my answer 0, positive, or negative?
Positive.
It's positive. So what's the answer to the discriminant here? 2 real solutions is the answer to the problem.
So you just write 2 real solutions.
2 real solutions is your answer. Now, there's a reason why they're giving this to you because they're going to build on it later on. Okay? Yes?
So how did you get to 1 out of that? Like,
Because b is always the number in front of x.
okay, gotcha.
A is the number in front of x squared, and c is the number that doesn't have an x with it. Yes?
The square root negative number equaling 2 imaginary solutions, you can really call imaginary.
Okay, well let's take a look at one. Here is that, okay? 3x squared plus 2x plus 5 equals 0. Let's find the discriminant. Well, what formula do we use to find the discriminant? b squared minus 4ac. What's b? 2. It's 4 minus 4 times a times c. Is my number positive or negative? It's negative, so the answer to this is 2 imaginary solutions. That's the answer.
So you call imaginary
Because it's going to give me the square root of a negative number. What's the square root of any negative number? Plus or minus I.
You call imaginary for the I, so you call the.
Well, imaginary is I. If you get I, then it's but now okay. But let's back up. Why is it called I? What is the square root of negative 4?
4. 2i.
It's 2I. Well, it's imaginary. Why? Because you can't do this. You can't take the square root of a negative number. It's not legal. So, a mathematician, okay, by the name of Euler, established this. Now, again, I don't want to repeat everything that was said before, but Euler did this because he noticed that some planets in the sky, instead of going like this, like our moon, went like this. So it started there, and by the end of the night, before the sun came up, it was there. It never ended up over there. So how do you describe this? This was a bending away. It never completed the whole circle. So that was an imaginary, okay? That was what's called a hyperbola. It was doing a hyperbola. It never closed like an ellipse, okay? So you had to describe that. It was described by a negative number. So that's what Euler did, okay? All right, and so when you study hyperbolas and parabolas and ellipses and inverse operations, and you have to graph them, some of them will have an I with it. Why do they have an I? Because you can't solve it, so you solve it with imaginary being the y-axis, and the x-axis becomes what's called the real axis instead of x and y. Now that all is going to be shown to you next year, not this year. Okay? How are we doing? Now what's important? I hope that you have this down, because I will not answer any questions for anybody unless you show me this. Okay? But it's real easy. So, folks, look at problem number 6. Problem number 6, okay, what's the discriminant? Problem number 6. Two?
Real.
Are you sure? You are correct. 2 real solutions. Okay. Number 7. 2 imaginary solutions. You are correct. Okay? All right. Now, some of you might be noticing a pattern here. Is that what you're noticing?
No.
You notice a pattern? The last number is the key number, isn't it? Last number can tell you if something's to discriminate or not. It's all in that last number. Okay? The last will be first. All right, your assignment is 93 odds. We're not going to correct today because we have too many people that aren't here. So we'll correct tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to correct tomorrow. All right? Because we only have 3 classes tomorrow. A can't be negative because it's B squared.
Oh, well, yeah.
But
the A after.
If A is negative and C is negative,
Yeah.
multiply everything by a -1, so you always have A as being positive, and then you be able to tell. That's the hint. So if you have negative 2x squared plus 2x minus 3, you multiply everything by -1, you'll get 2x squared minus 3x plus whatever, and then you go from there. It'll be the same answer. Yeah, that's all right. It doesn't take very much. Okay. Okay. Putting that on there too.